أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Historical background of Surah Ahzab continues. Earlier we have discussed the stratagem of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to protect Medina by digging out a trench which completely surprised the disbelievers attackers. After this, only one alternative remained with the disbelievers to incite the Jewish tribe of Bani Quraizah, who inhabited the southeastern part of the city, to rebellion, as the Muslims had entered a treaty with them that in case of an attack on Medina, they would defend the city along with Muslims. The Muslims had made no defensive arrangement there and had even sent their families to take shelter in the forts situated on that side. The invader perceived this weakness of the Islamic defenses. They sent Huyaya bin Akhtab, the Jewish leader of Bani an-Nadir, to the Bani Quraizah so as to induce them to break the treaty and join the war. In the beginning, they refused to oblige and said that they had a treaty with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had faithfully abided by it and given them no cause for complaint. But when Ibn Akhtab said to them, "Look, I have summoned the united force of entire Arabia against him. This is a perfect opportunity to get rid of him. Nauzubillah. If you lose it, you will never have another opportunity." The anti-Islamic Jewish mind prevailed over every moral consideration, and Bani Quraizah were persuaded to break the treaty. The Holy Prophet ﷺ received the news of this. He at once told Saad bin Ubadah, Saad bin Muad, Abdullah bin Rawaha, and Khawat bin Jubair, chiefs of Ansar, to go and find out the truth. He advised them that if they found Bani Quraizah still loyal to treaty, they should return and say so openly before the Muslim army. However, if they found that they were bent upon treachery, they should only inform him so that the common Muslim would not be disheartened. On reaching there, companions found the Bani Quraizah fully bent on mischiefs. They told the companions, Rizwanullahi Ajma'in, openly, "There is no agreement and no treaty between us and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." At this, they returned to the Islamic army and submitted their report to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, "Adal and Kara, that is, the Qurayza are bent upon doing what the Adal and Kara had done with the preachers of Islam at Raji." This news spread among the Muslims and caused great consternation among them, for they had been encircled and their city had been endangered on the side where there existed no defensive arrangement and where they had also sent their family to take shelter in the forts. This further increased the activities of the hypocrites, and they started making psychological attacks to break the morale of the Muslims. One said, "How strange, we were being foretold that the lands of Caesars and Choros would fall to us. But here we are that not one of us can go out even to relieve himself." Another one asked for permission to leave his post at the trench so that he could go and protect his own house, which was in danger. Another one started making secret propaganda to the effect, "Settle your affair with the invaders yourselves and hand over Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them." This was a highly critical hour of trial which exposed every person who harbored any hypocrisy in his heart. Only the true and sincere Muslims remained firm and steadfast in their resolve and devotion. In the meantime, Nuaym bin Masood, a member of the Ashja branch of the Ghatafan tribe, became a Muslim and came before the Holy Prophet ﷺ and submitted. No one as yet knows what that I have embraced Islam. You can take from me whatever service you please. The Holy Prophet ﷺ replied, go and sow the seed of discord among the enemy. So, first of all, Nuaym went to the Qurayza with whom he was on friendly terms and said to them, Quraysh and the Ghatafan can become weird of the siege and go back, and they will lose nothing, but you have to live here with the Muslim. Just consider what will be your position if the matter turns that way. Therefore, I would advise you not to join the enemy until the outsiders should send some of their prominent men as hostages to you. This had the desired effect upon the Bani Quraizah, and they decided to demand hostages from the united front of the tribes. Then he went to the chiefs of the Quraysh and the Ghatafan and said to them, the Bani Quraizah seem to be slack and irresolute. Maybe they demand some men as hostage from you and then hand them over to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to settle their affair with him. Therefore, be very firm and cautious in your dealing with them. This made the leaders of the United Front suspicious of Bani Quraizah, and they sent them a message saying, we are tired of the long siege. Let there be a decisive battle. Let us therefore make a general assault simultaneously from both sides. The Bani Qurayza sent back the word, saying, we cannot afford to join the war unless you hand over some of your prominent men to us as hostages. The leader of the United Front became convinced that what Nuaym had said was true. They refused to send the hostages, and the Bani Qurayza on the other side also felt that Nuaym had given them the correct counsel. In this way, the stratagem worked well and divided the enemies. The siege was prolonged for more than 25 days. It was winter. The supply of food and water and forage was becoming more and more scarce every day, and division in the camp was also a great strain on the state of morale of the besiegers. Then suddenly one night a fierce windstorm, accompanied by thunder and lightning, hit the camp. It added to the cold and darkness. The wind overthrew the tents and put the enemy in disarray. They could not stand this severe blow of nature. They left the battleground even during the night and returned to their homes. When the Muslim awoke in the morning, there was not a single enemy soldier to be seen on the battlefield. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, finding the battlefield completely empty, said, the Quraysh will never be able to attack you after this. Now you will take the offensive. This was a correct assessment of the situation. Not only the Quraysh, but the united front of all the enemy tribes had made their final assault against Islam and had failed. Now they could no longer dare invade Medina. Now the Muslims were on the offensive. Raid on Bani Quraizah. When the Holy Prophet ﷺ returned from the trench, Jibreel came to him in the early afternoon with the divine command: the Muslims should not lay aside the arms yet, but should deal with the Bani Quraizah as well. On receipt of this command, The Holy Prophet ﷺ got announced, everyone who is steadfast in obedience should not offer his asr till he reaches the locality of the Bani Quraizah. Immediately after this, he dispatched Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu with a contingent of soldiers as vanguard toward the Qurayza. When they reached there, the Jews climbed onto their rooftops and started hurling abuses on the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. But their invectives, but their invectives could not save them from the consequences of their treachery. They had committed breach of the treaty right at the most critical moment of the war, joined hands with the invaders and endangered the entire population of Medina. When they saw the contingent of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they thought that they had come only to overawe them. But when the whole Islamic army arrived under the command of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself and laid siege to their quarters, they were very frightened. They could not stand the severity of the siege for more than 2 or 3 weeks. At last, they surrendered themselves to the Holy Prophet ﷺ on the condition that they would accept whatever decision Hazrat Saad bin Muad, the chief of the Aus, would give. They had accepted Hazrat Saad as their judge because in the pre-Islamic days, the Aus and Qurayza had been confederates and they had hoped that in view of the past ties, he would help them quit Medina as had happened in the case of Bani Kanuka and the Bani An-Nadir before. The people of the Aus themselves wished that Hazrat Saad treat their previous allies leniently, but Hazrat Saad had just experienced and seen how the two Jewish tribes who had been allowed to leave Medina previously had instigated the other tribes living around Medina and summoned the united front of 10 to 12,000 men against the Muslims. He was also aware how treacherously this last Jewish tribe had behaved right on the occasion when the city was under attack from outside and that threatened the safety of the whole of its population. Therefore, he decreed that all the male members of the Qurayza should be put to death, their women and children taken prisoners, and their property distributed among the Muslims. The sentence was carried out duly. When the Muslims entered their strongholds, they found that the treacherous people had collected 1,500 swords, 300 coats of mail, 2,000 spears, and 1,500 shields in order to join the war. If Allah's succor had not reached the Muslims, all this military equipment would have been used to attack Medina from the rear right at the time when the polytheists were making preparation for a general assault on the Muslim. After this disclosure, there remained no doubt that the decision of Hazrat Saad radiallahu ta'ala anhu concerning those people was absolutely correct.